Hey peeps, welcome to my channel, welcome to my studio, and welcome to this tutorial. Yeah, okay, so I've told you many times that I have worked with polymer clay for a very long time. You know, usually I say, I've been working with it for 30 years. You know what? I have been. It's been a long time. Now, all of this stuff you see before you was in my barn. You know why? Because this is some of the first stuff I ever really made. This is all Sculpey 3, if you can believe that. I know, it's all Sculpey 3. How does that happen? And you know what? None of it's broken, which is testament to the fact that it never went anywhere outside of the bag it was in. I think some of this was probably in my first book. Here you see translucent clay with embossing powder in it. That was my fake JD type stuff. This looks like some muscle man with his arms up like that. What was I thinking? I don't know. I don't know. This guy is actually Sculpey 3, and I know there's foil inside because it weighs virtually nothing. Okay. This is real turquoise, yeah, that I set in Sculpey 3. And that was the original color in the back. So obviously I painted it. I painted it. And then I have garnets here and I knotted each one in between. Oh, this was a big guy. Yeah. And what this is, because we didn't work with liquid clay in these days, so this is actually translucent Sculpey 3 with glitter, you see glitter, and this coarse chopped stuff, you know, iridescent flakes, and this is polymer clay. This is the technique that I did, which was very, very, very thin sheets of color and then torn apart and then put together so that wherever the tears were, the underlying color would show through, making sort of veins. Okay, so that's what that is. And all of this is set in Sculpey 3. Yeah, it is. I love these beads. I don't remember what they are, but I think I'll probably take the whole thing apart. And this is really turquoise. I used to work with crystals a lot, so I set real Swarovski crystals like this and then strung them up, and there's a little clasp. This is kind of a nice clasp here, this one. So this is, I was making clay clasps back in the day too. Yeah, there we go. Not particularly fond of the way I chose to finish this, just slap some glue there and, you know, cross your fingers and pray. Yeah. Okay, so this is kind of interesting. Never wore this. I thought, you know, it's not so easy making polymer clay look like real metal. So what this was, best of my recollection, I think this was probably mica powder that I put on the surface. I believe it was. Yeah. Okay. And then here's this guy. Just a simple pendant. And this is Sculpey 3. This is clay. This is that technique I showed you, I talked about, excuse me. That's a real pearl, and that's a real carnelian, because I love pearls and carnelian. Love them a lot. So anyway, as I was looking through all of this, I thought, my goodness, I've been working with clay a long time. But, you know, what might be fun to do is try to replicate myself. Take this guy, and let's try to replicate it. So I'm replicating the Donna of 30 years ago. Yeah, let's see if I can do it. What do you think? I think we should try. Well, let's take a closer look. So this is a Sculpey 3 turquoise. Sculpey 3 turquoise. Yeah. But the rest of it, and this is a real pearl, and as I said, this is real carnelian. I suppose you could try to replicate those too. The pearl wouldn't be too difficult, and neither would the carnelian. It wouldn't look exactly the same. But I love pearls, and I love carnelian. I love the way they look, and, you know, I don't see any problem with combining pearls and real stones with polymer clay. I didn't then, and I still don't think there's any issue with it. Now, all of this is set in clay. The back is finished. The me of today doesn't finish like this. I think this is rather sloppy. So we're going to try to improve that. Okay. Well, the first thing we have to do is make this. We got to make this turquoise. I haven't done this technique since I wrote my book. So let me gather up clay. I'm going to gather up some turquoise and some green, and there's gray there. I'm sure I had some translucent on there because I would make great big sheets and then tear. Okay. So this is actually in my first book, so I think I'm going to consult my first book. I think I will. So here is my first book. Now this was published in, I think, 1997. Ages and ages and ages ago. This was a reprint in 2006. I don't have an original copy. I know. Somewhere, probably I do, but I just don't know where it is. So, I called this Sheets of Stone. Oh, actually, that was probably joy. I never knew what to name things. Okay. Faux turquoise and jasmine by rolling specific colors into sheets, tearing them into pieces, layering them randomly, then rolling through the pasta machine. You may also be able to produce a sheet of the required thinness using a brayer, but it may take practice. Okay. So I used Sculpey 3 to do this, and you can see I had to mix that green color, and I believe I just used their what they called aqua, which is that. Yeah, because the aqua wasn't changed at all, but that yellow-green was mixed. Then I had black, and then translucent. Okay, so I don't know. Okay, so since I'm not using Sculpey 3, we're going to be changing things anyway, aren't we? Yeah, we are, as a matter of fact. Okay, so I'm going to keep this open to consult. This was a long time ago, guys. Lord, I can't remember what I ate yesterday. How am I going to remember what I did 30 years ago? Okay, so what I can tell immediately is that this turquoise and this turquoise are not the same. Yeah, but this turquoise has always been too blue for me. Way too blue. So let's take some green and add it to the turquoise to mix the turquoise color I want. Now this green probably, if the book is true, if the color reproduction is good, and you know that's questionable because sometimes color reproduction is not that great. I don't know what to say. It just isn't. It's a tough thing. For instance, when you make a color chart, it's really hard to do, and it's virtually impossible to get every color accurate. You may hit the blues just right, but then your other colors are going to be off. So it's really a toughie. Anyway, from the naked eye, I do happen to know this is more blue. So I am going to condition these or roll them into sheets, and then I'll be back because that's the first thing we have to do. Okay, so let's start. I rolled both of my sheets through setting number 3. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a cutter. Okay, let's do equal parts first. You know, I should know this, but I'm really, since I clay like my mom cooks. I never do things the same way twice. My mom cooked. She was a great cook. But, yeah. Okay. So I'm kind of the same way, in a way. Every day is a new day in the Kato household. So this is what we have when we have like equal parts. I like it. I like it. Let's make this our turquoise. I like it, I like it, I like it. Okay, so that's easy. That is easy. Let me just roll these out again. Minus the hole. Minus the hole. Equal parts of okay. Coochie coochie. Here's my turquoise. Might as well throw this guy in there. Let me mix them up and I will be back. All right, so now that I've rolled this big sheet, I'm looking at it, and you know what? I swear, this is a bit greener, so I'm going to throw a little bit more blue back in. Okay, just a touch more blue. Let's see what we get then. We'll keep that aside so we can compare. So I do like the color better. It's just a touch more blue than this one, which was a bit green. Now, the thing about turquoise is that, and all these natural stones, is that there's so many different colors. Yeah, so many different colors. And turquoise is a stone that's very opaque. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to add a little white. It's going to lighten it up some. That's not a lot of white, but let's see. I'm going to throw this back in. And I will be back. All right, so here's that color. I think I'm going to add a little bit more. Let's see what happens now. I just Googled turquoise. And this is my conclusion. Mix whatever color you like. Because, oh my heavens, the colors of turquoise. There are so many that there's no right or wrong here. Some are very blue, some are very green, some are actually yellow. So I'm stopping right here because this makes me perfectly happy. Now, I have to prepare for the next part. You can see, you guys, you don't need to like have packages and packages of clay for this. I just grabbed some scrap lying around that I had of turquoise and green. So, you know, this isn't one of those things where it's going to take like tons of clay. Nope. So the next thing I have to do is mix that yellow green. Now this is plenty of green. I grabbed a little bit of yellow. Okay, anyway, moving right along, the yellow green. I'm just going to add yellow until I have a nice yellow green a la that kind of color. So let me do that. So I'm going to start with the green, the yellow actually, and mix some green in like so. Yeah, it's not going to take a lot. Not going to take a lot. It's kind of a limey green. You know, I don't believe I said how much of what to what. Oh, what can I say? So here's our limey green. Let me consult the finished color. It needs to be more green. So I got an email from an editor, somebody who evidently has taken it upon himself to help those in great need of editing skills. He wants my classes and he figured I needed them. Okay, so I needs more green. Yeah. What was I thinking? And it just tickles me. It tickles me. And I am absolutely sure that this young man could help me a lot. And I'm also absolutely sure that I can't afford this young man. Yeah, what can I say? So you guys are just gonna have to live with the occasional duplication of a scene or some kind of weirdness in my tutorials. I will write him a letter and thank him very much for his concern. Yeah. And tell him that maybe someday I'll be able to take advantage of his skills as an editor, but it isn't today. Okay, let me look again. So my strategy to start with yellow was probably not the best one. Although, that's not too bad, although this is darker to me. So I think the problem here is not, I think the problem is I need to add a little red. Not much, just a touch. Because I think it's just too bright. Maybe that's too much. I mean, the red is like real, runs over the green. Paints. Look, see what I mean? The red is just like, holy moly. Actually, I'm going to make you guys wait until I've done this so you can see just how big a difference that tiny bit of red made. And why you don't ever take like huge hunks of red and throw it into green or yellow green to modify the color. It's best to take those tiny bits. Okay, so here we go. So this is the color. So that was not a lot of red. That was not a lot of red. No, I think I will take another teeny bit and add it in. But this is the way I deal with this because the red is so strong. I want it a bit darker, but I don't want to make brown. Okay. La, la, la. Okay. I don't know how this kid found me. I mean, maybe it's just simply a form letter, but how did he get me? I'm a little confused about it. I'm not alarmed, I'm just a little confused. Okay, so let me take a look. I'm getting closer, I'm getting closer. I think it's so thin, I'm just gonna leave it. Yeah, I am. So now I need translucent. Translucent. Okay, once again, I don't need a lot of it. Now this time I think I will kind of cut off the schmutzy parts. Schmutz, schmutz, schmutz. Okay. So I'll write the kid. And thank him for his concern. I don't know. You guys can tell me whether I need an editor. I mean, I know that I'm an acquired taste. And some people probably look and say, I just can't stand that woman. I can't stand the interruptions from her dogs and her cats and her husband with the cappuccinos. You know, it's not a bad thing. It's just that people learn I prefer a particular way of learning and particular structures, and it's not good or bad. One way is not better than the other. It's just that we as people are drawn perhaps to different things. All right, translucent all over the place. Now let me prepare my black, and we're gonna start. Woohoo! I'm kind of excited, you guys. I haven't done this in, well, many years. Many. I haven't. So many years. Whoops. Oopsie. Get up, you. Just gonna scoot you over. Then I'll be back. Look, I have some paint in here. I think it's gonna be fine. Okay, peeps. So, in my original piece, I was working with Sculpey 3 very soft, squishy clay. Is this soft and squishy? No, you know what? It really is not. I don't think I have to change it. Now, if this was hard Kato, I would add conditioning bar or conditioning piece to it. But everything seems to be nice and supple and soft, so I don't feel I have to do that. But whenever you're reading instructions, you have to always bear in mind what the instructions are written with, correct? All right, so the layering is as follows. Black on 7, then on top of that, aqua on 3, then on 7, the translucent, and the yellow green. All right, 7, 3, and 7. Okay, okie dokie. Let's first take this guy and roll through 3. And let's see how big this is. I'm just going to follow the instructions as they have been written. Okay, so here's 3. There's little schmutz on my rollers. And so let's do 7. Black. 5. 5. Also, this was a different pasta machine. I've always used Atlas machines, but my first machine was absolutely my best machine. I missed that machine. My baby brother found it at my baby brother, he's 52. My brother found it for me at a garage sale. Actually, he found it for himself. And the only reason he bought it was because it said Kato. And his name is Mark Kato. So he bought it for the box. Okay, so there's the 3. Yeah, he kept the box and gave me the machine. And it was a good one. It was really a great machine. I used that old machine for years and years and years. Okay, so this is going to be way lots by the time I'm through. So I'm just going to make a much smaller one, okay? Much smaller. Do not need it to be quite that large. All right, so here's the base. Now let's take the lime. How was I layering? Yeah, I put the green on first. So let's roll this through 7. Now this to me feels too thick. It is too thick for me, so I'm gonna roll this through 9. There's 8, and there's 9. Because as I recall, that old machine of mine was just, yeah, it gave me something that was more like this. See these guys? Okay, so let's tear off and put on some pieces. Okie dokie. Look how much I have left. I could make a lot of this. Not gonna. All right, so let us take our turquoise and roll it through. There's 7, 7, 9. 9. Here we go. Look at that. Now, let's take these guys and layer them on top. Obviously, every time you do this, it's different. Oops. I want a sheet, not a clump. Oops. How about that? Doesn't look like much, does it? Okay, so now this little guy gets rolled through thin. Tear the sheet into strips, blah, 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 blah. Oh, no, I skipped ahead. Tear, da, da, da. Oh, now we have to roll through the thinnest setting in the pasta machine. So I'm going to go back. It's like setting 2, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so I'll try to spread it out evenly. 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5. You guys have to just trust me. 1, 6, 7. Oh, I don't have a choice here. It's now too wide. 8, 8, 9, 9, 9. Look at that. Yeah, it kind of looks like the same thing. All right, so let me prepare my base, which is a ball of scrap clay. Okay, so here's the ball. It measures approximately 1.25 inches, I would say. Yeah. Okay, so let's do it. Now the next thing is just start tearing the sheet. You tear and you kind of stretch. And we'll see if this behaves like the Sculpey 3 that I used. That's a good piece. Okay, so let's get going. Now the tears seem to be pretty straight. And I am not sure that much of this black is going to show through. I like that edge where the black is kind of showing through. We shall see. And clays behave a little differently from each other, don't they? Yep, they do. They do. And it's really pretty random placement of the sheet. Well, let's hit it with a little more of this. Da, 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 da. Looks kind of like a little bit of a mess. I have so much of this. Okay, so pay attention, you guys. You saw how big the sheet was that I started with. It didn't need to be, so let's roll this so far and see. What's cooking? What's cooking? Okay, what you doing, buddy? Okay, so this is working out because that black is actually showing up. You know, maybe smaller bits here and there. Help break it up. Okay. Da, 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 da. All right. I think I want to overlay some blue on some of this here green. So you can minimize certain colors by laying over. Okay. Da, 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 da. Da, 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 da. So I'm not so sure this is going to look much like turquoise. It may just kind of be another kind of thing that's happening. Which I think will be fine. Scrappy pieces. Little pieces. Huh. I don't know how much like turquoise this looks. You know, the one I did there, I think there was more, maybe I overlaid some gray. This isn't exactly the thing. Huh. Interesting. You know, I think part of my problem here is that this green is too bright, right? Now, it's quite thin, so what is underneath may show through a bit, and it may actually knock the brightness down. I'm not going to concern myself, so it's not didn't look exactly like turquoise. But that's my fault. I should have adjusted the color more to the pictures. But I thought, let's see what happens. Okay. But you see how that black shows underneath? And perhaps the problem, I mean, I'll just look how much I have. Might as well just try something else, right? Maybe one of my issues here is that I've put too many little choppy pieces. I was having such a good time putting the choppy pieces in that I lost my way. Oh, I'm not sure. Maybe the choppy pieces were better. Maybe I can just... If I can make one good side, I'll be happy. I'll be happy. I'd like to make it smooth. And that's why all this rolling. Rolling, rolling, rolling. Okay, well, I'm stopping because I'm tired of rolling. And this will be fine. Well, it's not going to look exactly like turquoise, but that's kind of also okay, I guess. Now, let's form this into this shape. And I'm just going to push against my work surface like so. And there's a lot more clay here. I don't mind spreading it out a bit. Big. All right, let me just draw a point up. I'm going to chop the bottom off. Yep. You just chop the bottom off. In a case like this, it's just... that won't work. Now, how's our size? Not bad. Not bad. So obviously, if it's still too big, just chop the bottom off as I did. Now, one thing I would like to do is I would like to form a nice corner there. So let me just try to pull the clay down like so. So anyway, this is what I used to do to make turquoise, and I think I did jasper like this too, just by forming these sheets and then tearing and to expose the color underneath, which in this case was black. Because hopefully, you know, you get this nice line, kind of defines everything. After I did this, I don't know that I ever really did much more than what I did with you guys today. with this, but it's in my first book. And I don't think anybody had done it quite that way before. Tori Hughes did a lot of imitative stuff. It was very different the way she did it. So my methods were not the same as hers. Okay, so I'm going to keep working on it just a little bit. It's still a little bit larger, I think, but you know, I'm going to just accept that rather than trim off the bottom again. And now this will be cured. And once it's cured, we'll give it a good sand. Okay. Look, I have a ton more. Okay, so this is out of the oven, and I like it. It doesn't really look like turquoise, but I still like it. Yeah. Now, as I'm looking at this, this had a lot more gray going on, apparently. So this isn't from what I made in the book. It can't be. No, I'm looking at it. It's not. It's not. Anyway, so, hey, I made a polymer clay stone. I don't know what it is. It could be anything. Could be anything. So now I have some Auburnet P600, and I'm just going to start sanding. The P600 is very fine. It's like a fine sanding block. So let's just start with that. It doesn't scratch up the surface too much, not like the 120, the 180, the 80. Oh my heavens. Oh my heavens. P80 is really coarse. Okay, so I use Auburnet. You can get it online. I really like it a lot. I first saw it in France. That's where I bought my first Auburnet. But thankfully you can get it here. Yep, you can. All right, so this is boring, but I'm going to keep doing this until it feels, see, I can feel the lumpiness right there. So I don't want the lumpiness. Now, I have to go kind of slowly because remember how thin these layers are? I don't know what I'm going to expose if I make this flat. I may have to live with a certain amount of lumpiness, okay? Because I don't necessarily want to sand it away all the way to make it smooth if I'm going to expose, for instance, that. Okay? So it may end up being just a tad lumpy. What's that? Oh, I remember. Okay, so let me sand and then I'll be back. Okay, so this is sanded. And I just rolled this gold clay through setting number 4. So I've picked out a cutter, and you see, it's just a little bit larger than this piece. Let me just cut like so. All right, now I am gonna put liquid clay on the bottom, which is nice and flat. Yeah, it's nice and flat. And let's put just a little bit along the edge because I'm going to take the clay from the bottom and draw it up along the edge. You know, don't really have to because, of course, the clay will be clay to clay. I don't really have to capture the form as I would if the form were, let's say, stone or something else that doesn't form a permanent bond to clay. Okay, let me pull this. And what I'm trying to do is center this on this round piece. Okay, that's pretty good. A little bit extra here and extra there, but first thing is to take and just try to work that clay from the bottom up around the edge. So we're creating a bezel around our fake stone. Okay. Good. It doesn't look too bad. That doesn't look bad at all. Now, I don't like that gapping there, so I will continue to push up the bottom and then stroke along that edge. Like so. Now, if there was tons too much, then of course I would just take the blade and I would cut around. I might have to do that in a spot or two, but you know, actually it looks pretty good. And if there are any areas where you don't have quite enough clay, you know, you can take and pull it from underneath. Okay. Good deal. All right. Now, let me see if I can find... I know it's here somewhere. Well, let me just see if this guy. What I really like using are those nylon tools. You know, those little nylon tools with a nylon tip. It's kind of soft, not hard like this metal tool. It's here somewhere. Yeah, it's here somewhere. I'm not going to look for it, because maybe you don't have that tool anyway. This is not the ideal tool. I think it will do. Oops. Dropped it. I have dropsy. Actually, dropsy is no joke. I have betta fish. I worry about dropsy all the time. That happens when they eat too much. I worry mostly about my big boy. I have a king betta, Pedro. And he sure loves to eat. If there's any food in there, he will eat it. See, now here it's going like that. So in a case like that, you can just take your blade and you use this kind of rolling action over it. Just roll the cutting edge along. Okay, that's good. So that is set. Now, the other thing that has to be set is the carnelian. Now, I went searching through my semi-precious stuff. I have no carnelian, which means it's time to go to a bead show. Yeah, well, I can't go to a bead show now. I did find goldstone, which I love very much as well. And I'll probably use it because it's closest to the color. Now, it's slightly smaller, so the proportions are not going to be ideal IMO. I found a pearl. It is larger. So here are my 3 elements. I also have some jade, which is very nice. This is beautiful jade. This is really nice jade. What happens if we substitute the green? I really prefer the goldstone. I would really, really, really prefer carnelian, but I don't have any. Okay, so this little guy, perfectly round, it needs to be set in clay. All right. And so let me take these. Let's see. This is the same clay rolled through setting 4. All right. This might be a little small, but I'm going to try it anyway. Cut it. Position it so the hole is positioned like this. Of course, you don't want the hole up, and it is too small. I can tell already. I could probably work this clay all the way up, but it just strikes me as too small. Not a problem. I happen to be equipped with more cutters. This one might be too big. Let's give it a go. All right, excellent. And you're just going to work the clay up from the bottom. And ideally, you cover a little more than the halfway point, so you're actually capturing the bead in this clay, so it doesn't like pop out. Okay. So how are we looking? I think that looks good. Might not be absolutely perfect along here, but it looks good, I think. So that's that. Now, in terms of the pearl, if you can look at the actual piece, you can see that I've wrapped it with several little snakes, but I'm not sure I wrapped all the way around. I'm going to wrap all the way around this time. Okay, now to do that, of course, we need snakes. What are we going to do? Oh man, snakes. I'm going to need more snakes anyway, so I'm going to use my clay gun fitted with the tiniest round hole screen. I did soften this clay. So let me roll a little cylinder. I don't need a ton of this, so I think it's going to be okay. Just even this little bit. soften it a little bit more. Okay. Screw it on. I have to find this piece of Rubbermaid something or other to wrap around and get a good grip. Okay, and off we go. Oh, come on. Now, I know there are devices that make this easier, but the amount of times I do this, it probably wouldn't be worth it for me. Okay. Now, the reason I keep extruding is because I want a piece that's long enough to go around this whole piece, around this guy. Two. I think that's long enough. Disintegrating Rubbermaid mat. It's not a good thing to mix in with your clay. Ask me how I know. Okay, so let us take a little snake. All right. Hello, little snake. And I'm just going to wrap this around several times. Now, is that the middle? And this is actually thinner, isn't it? Thinner than the other one. Just fine. Okay. All right. Now you're on. Let's straighten it out. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cure this piece. And I'll tell you why. Because if I take this raw clay and I push it into this, those snakes are going to bulge out. So I want them tight against the pearl. So I'm going to pop these in the oven. It doesn't have to go for like 50 minutes or anything like that. But let's just pop it in there for maybe 15. Then I'll be back. Okay, so the next thing we do is we make the bail. Now, as I said, I'm not exactly happy with the way this looks in the back. Okay, I'm unhappy. I have rolled clay through setting number 6, so it's quite thin. You know what? I think I'm going to make it even thinner. I'm going to roll this through. I don't know, what did I do before? That's really, really thin. I think that's 7. It doesn't have to be thick. No. Stick to that. Okay. Now I'm just going to take and line up three snakes. Actually, they're so much smaller. I think I'll do 4. And I think this is long enough to go from the top here around and then onto the piece. I hope it's long enough. It's deceiving, you know, you think, no, I think it's not long enough. So I'm gonna do it again. I'd rather have more that I have to cut away than do it and find myself that, oh no, I have to do the whole thing again. Okay. Erg. These little snakies are so much thinner. So much thinner. Maybe I should have used the next size snake up. Look at that. Yeah, I'm gonna do one more snake for the bail. There we go. Okay. I'm going to cut the sides. Yeah. Oh. I have to go now. Just okay. Sorry about that. That was Vernon telling me groceries are here. Yeah. Groceries are here. That means I have to get up and go get them. Anyway, so I did trim the 4 sides. This will be the bail. I'll be back after I get my groceries. Okay, so I'm going to work on this tile. So I've rolled this gold through setting number 6. It's quite thin. Let's put that on. Like that. Now let's take our turquoise and really push it onto this base sheet like so. Now I'm going to take a snake, a little snake, and I'll start it down here since the pearl will be down here. We'll probably cover that up. I used to do a lot of this kind of stuff. Just wrap it around, like so. Now, are you in there? Yeah. Okay, cut. So I put away my groceries. I made my green stuff. Anybody out there drink green stuff? So I figure I don't get enough vegetables. Not enough vegetables in this life. Nope, nope, nope. Okay, now we just have to wait. I have to wait for the pearl because the pearl will go here. And then this guy will then go under the pearl. Now, my plan right now is to assemble the 3 pieces and then do whatever kind of trimming I can around the elements of this sheet, pop it in the oven. I'll also be adding the bail, okay? But the actual finished back will be another step and another curing. Now, when you have a snake like this, inspect the whole thing, look all the way around and make sure that it's positioned correctly. Okay. Alrighty. I'll be back. Alright, so as I'm looking at this piece again, I see that this snake I just set is actually that snake down there in the crevice. And I rolled another snake next to it that was larger. Yeah, and that creates this nice little wall. Don't know if you can see that. Maybe this part is easier to see right here. This is the setting for the actual clay piece. That down there, that is the skinny snake. But then I had another snake that was thicker. So I'm going to roll another snake that's thicker through a thicker screen. I have to extrude more clay, in other words. That's what I meant to say. So let me get a different screen. All right, so let me extrude some snakes through this screen. You can see that it is a larger diameter. Not hugely larger, but it is larger, so let me squeak my way through and extrude these snakes. Here's my snake. And now this little snake is positioned right next to the first one. Okay. Now that side seems to have rolled up a bit, so I'm gonna have to push that side down, make sure that everything is right. I think that would be the potential hazard, is that the big snake rolls right over the small one. Okay, let's snug that up just a bit. Make sure that it's right down there. Okay. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. Nice, simple. It's a very simple setting. All right, so if we look at this, you can see that I had back to the sides of the pearl. I'm not sure I really need to do that. I think that I can have the top and then a nice little straight strip and then the round on the bottom. I think I can do that. Let's do it. Okay, so this is how much space the pearl will take. Just like that. Is that the center? So let me just indicate with a needle or something. Just make a little mark. On both sides. Then this little guy is going to go down here, so all I need to know is how far. Okay, how's that looking? I wish this was a little small. Never mind. I think they're fine. All right, so I'm going to lift this up. And I'm just going to push the goldstone down in that base. This is all set. Now, What's the worst that can happen? I have to do it again. Right? Right. Ta-ta. And that's where the pearl will be. Pushed right in there. So let us take, oops, oopsie, don't lose the pearl. Don't lose the pearl. It's the only one I have. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim around this snake on the top, and then I will trim around this kind of, you know what? I made a mistake. I really need some help here. And by help, I mean, I don't want to just trim around this little guy, okay, like freehand trimming. That's just not really a good idea. It's a better idea for me to actually put something like this down first. Oh, excuse me. Excuse me very much. Then center this on. And now at least I have something to cut around. Okay? You can see. Rather than just like, oh, trying to cut this exact same margin around, which I cannot do. So it's better just to place something else there and then cut around that. Okay, so let's do our cutting. Okay. Now, let's cut around this guy. Okay, there we go. That's not too bad. Thing is, I'll sand it after it's cured. Okay, now let me make sure that the snake hasn't like rolled up too much. I'm gonna take it and look at it like so, straight on. It looks good. Now let's position the pearl. I'm going to put a little bit of poly paste on the back of this guy. Just a bit on the back here. Oh, that's Rotel gel. That won't do. Well, that isn't what I want. I have 1 million bottles of poly paste. Okay, not 1 million, that's an exaggeration. I have a lot. I have a lot. I have some that's very old poly paste. Very fresh poly paste. Okay. Oh, I just threw my tool. Center this and just position it like so. Okay. All right. Now, the next thing I have to do, I have to put this on. Okay, where's the middle? Where's the center? Is that the center? Now, here's where I have been known to go off. I have to look at it. I'm sorry, but I have to tilt it away from you guys because I just have to look at it. Let's see if that is, in fact, centered, or if I have to go over a bit. And that looks centered to me. It does. It looks centered to me. So what I've done simply is just turn this over, right? Okay. Now I do see a potential problem here. Let me just press that. Okay, now, you know, at this join, I would feel better if there was just a tiny bit of poly paste there too. Won't ever be seen, but I think I would like that. Just a tiny bit there. And a tiny bit here. Just like that. All right, so let us think about what we're gonna string this through. Most likely it will be Bunicord, and most likely it will be something like this. Now this, is this 2 millimeter? Yeah, 2 millimeters. Okay, 2 millimeters. So let me grab a piece from here. I have what, it's like this nest of Bunicord over here, and it looks awful. So I'm just gonna cut a piece from the middle. All right, excellent. There we go. Let me see if I can get this going. Come on, you want to stay down there, don't you? Nope, I don't want to stay down there, it says. Okay, so I guess I have to pick it up and curl it. I had to curl it. Let me push it back on. And let me say, frankly, it didn't actually have to, here. Let me see if I can make this just a tad easier by making a beveled cut like so, so that this will actually rest on the snake like that. Okay, now is that still centered? Pretty much so. Like that. Okay, all right, Snakey. Let's see if you'll stay there for a moment. Fold this back down on itself. If your little snake starts separating, all you have to do is kind of push them back together, like so. So let us look. I don't exactly remember how I did this the first time. I have to admit. Okay, so let me cut. Let's cut there to begin with. Work our way back to the finished length. Okay, let's cut a little more. Something like that. No, the original piece, I believe it was cut back even farther. And then, you know what? I had snakes around the neck of the, ooh, I forgot this. I forgot that. Well, I will put the snakes after this is cured. That works too. That'll work too. Okay. All right, so here's what we have so far. This is going to go in the oven now. Okay, I don't necessarily have to leave this in there, so I'll take it out. So when it's cured, I'll be back. I'm gonna leave it just like that. All right, so this is out of the oven. I did put this back in to make sure it fit. It's still hot. The tile is between warm and hot. The piece is hot. I'm waiting until this is totally cold before I remove it from the tile. You guys know this is hard for me. I'm not the most patient person. I'm waiting though, so I'll be back. Okay, so now this is a cold. So I'm gonna take it off of my tile. Ta-da. There we go. Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna back it with this. I've rolled this through setting number 4. I'm going to roll it through again with my dual plex refrigerator liner. Okay, setting 4, let's go to texture. Now, the original didn't have a textured back. As a matter of fact, that back doesn't look so great to me. So we're gonna make it better. Now, I am going to work directly on the tile again, even though there will be some shiny spots. I would rather have shiny spots, a few of them. Actually, it'd be easier in some ways to work on that, but because I want to wrap. Oh, I'll wrap it now. I haven't decided. Let's just wrap it now. So I'm gonna take this and go from there around here and then back again and trim it right there. Gonna use the thick one. Start it. Oh, it's, you know what? There's been enough time for it to crack. Look at that. Did you see that? Yep, you saw it. So let's take this, and you know what? I'm just gonna roll it a little bit to warm it up. If this doesn't work, then I have to extrude new snakes. But I think I can get this to work. I'm hoping. Okay, good enough. Good enough. Slide this along the back and trim. Like so. And I think that's fine. I don't know that I need 2. If I put 2, I probably should have used these guys, the skinny ones. I'm going to stick with this. All right, let us now place this texture side down, of course. I like to avoid that part of the texture, so let me just cut this off. All right. I'm going to brush some liquid on the back, starting from up here, filling that area in, all the way around here. Excellent. Like so. Just going to put that down and let's start trimming. Now I'm going to have to lift this, pick it up to do the final trim, but there will be a few spots like right there, right here, that might be just a touch fussier to deal with. There are two. Let's go around this guy on the bottom. Okay. I just want to pick this up. All right, so let's trim this way down here. Now I'll be sanding around the whole piece after this curing. Okay, so here we have that, and that is raw, isn't it? Right here, it's raw, around the little snake that I had to warm up. Come on. Okay, now here I'm just going to cut straight across like that. But now I've at least reinforced where this veil meets the actual piece in the back, right? I think that's important. I didn't really like the way I finished the other one. Okay, there. Now let me get my signature cane. I have enough signature cane for life. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna put that one right there. Why not? Okay, so the piece is looking really good to me. If I could make any improvement at this point, I think it would be just in this edge. Like so. Let's move to this side. Okay. Okay, that looks good. So this is going to be cured just like that. And when it's done, I'll be back. Okay. Before you cure anything, just make sure everything's correct. This kind of dropped just a little bit while I was handling it because, of course, that little piece is not cured. Now, do I want to add anything else? I mean, at this point, I could add more things. I could add little balls or something, but I think I'll leave it just like this. I like it. Okay, I'll be back. So here it is out of the oven. It's complete. The back looks so much better. Now, the bail, of course, is a little bit different. This one's longer. Yeah. And I wrapped twice. This one, of course, is larger than this, but basically they are the same. Now, final thing we do, I like the back so much better than this one. I do. I'm going to take this sanding stick, and wherever I can, I'm going to hit it like this. Now, there are some areas I don't think I can reach with the stick. Yeah. It's unfortunate, but true. Like right in there. So let's give one of these a try. Let's see if we can just improve it a little. And yeah. That's fine. So I'll finish sanding and of course sand around this bottom guy like so. Now I did make a second one because you guys know I don't just stop at one. Yeah, I don't. And I did something a little bit different when I did the bail. I actually made the bail as a separate unit. So if you can imagine just taking it and folding it like that, and then wrapping the snakes around, then pushing the raw bale, but the formed raw bale up against the form. Okay. And that seemed to be a little bit easier. And by doing it that way, this snake was then cured when I did the backing, which will also make it easier to cut around. Okay, so let me finish this. Well, we're at the end of class. This is done. Yeah. You know, the more I looked at this one, the more I think this is Pro Matte. That's not Sculpey 3. Sculpey 3 does not have... Sculpey 3 is duller. It doesn't have as much of a metallic sheen to it. So I bet this is Pro Matte. I think probably some of them in the bag that I showed you earlier are Pro Matte. Maybe that's also why they didn't break. Pro Matte was a very good clay, and it was very, very strong. So anyway... 30 years ago today. So this was a fun exercise for me, and I probably will continue to do this every now and then. There'll be something that I've made years and years and years ago that I'm trying to reproduce again. And I'm glad I did it This back is so much better than this one. And my goodness, you know, even though, well, I mean, this project or this technique was published in my book in 1997, which means I was working on it in 1996. And you know what? I think that this piece and the technique has really held up well over the last 30 years. I hope you think so too. So it's time for me to go. So I want to thank you all for watching. Thanks for your support. And until we meet again, I'm Donna Kato, signing off.